In this presentation, we will be discussing claims and evidence in the scholarly literature. As the previous video explained, a claim is a statement that asserts something to be true. Here are some examples of claim statements from journal articles. Electric cars are an effective strategy to fight pollution. Nuclear energy production is safer than coal-fired energy production. In both statements, the author is claiming something to be true. One form of a claim statement that is often found in the scientific literature is a hypothesis. Hypotheses are stated predictions based on previous knowledge or scholarship. Here are some examples of hypotheses. The homicide rate will decrease with enaction of stronger gun laws. Employees will be more productive working under bright lights than employees working under dim lights. In both of these hypotheses, the authors are predicting that something will happen. So how can you find the claim or hypothesis in a scholarly article? To understand what a researcher is trying to argue or prove, you will need to locate the author's claim. Many disciplines use journal articles as a way to publish research. Scholarly journal articles follow a similar pattern with label sections. These sections include the abstract, which is a summary of the article written by the researcher, the introduction, which provides background and a review of the literature. Sometimes the introduction is labeled as such, while in other articles it's labeled as background, and in some cases it's not labeled at all. It appears at the beginning of the article. The next section, materials and methods, sometimes is simply called methods or methodology, and it is an outline of the study protocols. If the article is not experimental in nature, however, there will not be a method section. The next section is the results section. The results section objectively presents key results of the research without any interpretation. The discussion section then interprets the results, draws conclusions, and may outline any limitations of the research. The conclusion may also be in its own section. The claim or hypothesis is usually located in the abstract or the introduction, or sometimes both. Hypotheses often appear at the end of the introduction, just before the methods section. So let's take a look at a scholarly article and locate the claim. In this example, from an article in the Academy of Management Journal, the claim is located in the highlighted section of the abstract. The author's claim is straightforward. They argue that birth order has an effect on CEO risk-taking, and that CEOs born earlier take less risk than those born later in the birth order. Here's another article published in the journal Motivation and Emotion. The authors have placed the hypothesis in the abstract and also in the introduction. Be aware that not all authors use the word hypothesis. Sometimes they use words like predict and other if-then statements. Also be aware that a study may have multiple claims or hypotheses. Once you have located the claim or hypothesis, take a few moments to try to understand what the author is trying to prove or argue. In this article, the authors are arguing that students in certain majors show more self-determination than students in other majors. Scholars, researchers, and students must provide evidence to argue their claim and prove their hypothesis. Evidence may come in different forms. Primary evidence comes from data collected and experiments conducted. Secondary evidence is published scholarship and other materials published in the form of journal articles, books, news, data and statistics compiled by others. Personal opinions or personal thoughts are not evidence. As a student, how do you locate evidence or prior research on a subject? A good place to start is the library, which provides access to a variety of scholarly materials, including scholarly peer-reviewed journals, scholarly books, government publications, and statistics and data that's been vetted by authoritative sources. As you search the library databases for evidence, you may discover that sometimes the information you find may contain conflicting or opposing information. This is not uncommon, and there are several reasons for this. Scholarship is constantly evolving. For example, if you located an article on cancer treatment written many years ago, it may contain findings that are dramatically different than an article written today. In some cases, there is very little material available on a subject. This often happens with phenomena which are relatively new or little studied. For example, few articles studying the coronavirus existed at the beginning of the pandemic, but the research will become more extensive as time goes by. Also note the quality of the source. Articles published in news sources may not have the same information and value as those in scholarly sources. Many times it is preferable to limit your search to scholarly peer-reviewed journals and other sources. Now that you've viewed this presentation, complete exercise 1, identify the claim or hypothesis in a scholarly article.